on the wings of a snow white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove.
When troubles beset
When
us,
they beset us,
when evils come,
they're gonna come.
the body grows weak,
Oh, so weak.
and the spirit grows numb. When these things beset us,
When they beset us,
He'll never forget us.
He won't forget us.
He'll send down His love.
He'll send His love,
Wings of
a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove. He sends His pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove. He sends His pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove.
Well, it's not my home and see.
This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven is not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. They're all expecting me, and that's one thing I know. Well, I fixed it up with Jesus a long, long time ago. And I know He'll see me through, 'cause He makes me strong and sure. And I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven is not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, I can't feel at home in this world anymore.
Thank you, guys. You can have your seats, get comfortable. I want to say welcome aboard to everybody that's in here and everybody that's out there online. Welcome. This is the Children of the Free Church Ministry. We gather here live every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The archives are available on our site, childrenofthefree.com. They're also available on YouTube, but you have to get to YouTube and then put in Children of the Free Ministries. Then the archives will come up. I want to ask you to get your messages into me after the teaching. It's important for me to see how the teaching is being received. And tonight I am going to read you an example of a message. And there's several different methods by which you can email or get messages to me. You can snail mail them, which I particularly like this one here. This one's from North Carolina, and it says, I've been following the teaching on Daniel. The messages are good. It is amazing how God elevated Daniel in the minds of so many pagan kings. Ain't that the truth? It says it reminds of the part in Psalm 23 where King David said, you prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. The true story of the lion's den shows that God is the Lord of all things. The lions had to be hungry. Scripture tells that when those who conspired against him, Daniel, were thrown in, the lions immediately attacked. What must those hours in the lion's den have been like for Daniel? Well, I can tell you this, and we showed it when we were teaching through Daniel 3 times at least. It was said that he was beloved of God. And whatever was going on in those hours, he was in faith trusting his God. So that's me responding to the message. Now, the Daniel teaching that we just did several weeks on should give us a solid foundation for undertaking future and end time prophecies, as you'll see as we land on Revelation 13 and Revelation 17 tonight. It also, that is the Daniel teaching, should give you a certainty that these things will come to pass, since we saw fulfillment of these visions and prophecies in Daniel's day, and we also saw them in his future of things that were prophesied, now our past, as you look back and see them fulfilled. God will do what he said. The things not yet will be. Now, we'll be teaching about kingdoms again tonight. Kingdoms that have been oppressing God's chosen people, God's chosen ones, down through history, from Egypt all the way to the Antichrist kingdom in the end times. And we will be teaching about Antichrist and about the false prophet as well tonight. I want you to go with me to Revelation 13. If you've noticed things heating up this week for yourselves, understand it's because of this teaching that we're doing now, that we have been doing and that we're delving into now. God doesn't want it going out. He doesn't want you receiving it. So if you've been noticing extra fights and accidents and things happening and sicknesses and attacks of all kinds, this is why. Right. I've done that before. You guys know what I'm talking about, and thanks for catching me. But you out there who are worth your salt know what I'm talking about. The devil doesn't want this teaching going out. He doesn't want you receiving it. In Revelation chapter 13, we're going to do a lot of pausing, a lot of teaching, a lot of translating and explaining tonight. But you're going to find out, and I want you to appreciate the fact that if we did this cold, you would have no idea what's going on, even if I was explaining it to you. without the Daniel teaching, but you're going to find a lot of stuff familiar, a lot of stuff falling into place. And this is not Daniel now, this is John talking, John the Revelator. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Now I want to point out something. I want you to circle that We're talking about a beast, not in some, like in some of the other visions that we read where there was beasts, plural, that came up. A beast. And you'll pass right over that if you're just reading through. I stood upon the sand of the sea and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It already should be sounding familiar, but it'll fall into place as we go along here. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Second verse. And the beast which I saw, remember, a beast. The beast I saw was like unto a leopard. The reason I'm leaning on that is because this beast, as we go on, you're going to find out has different parts of different animals. But by and large, it's primarily a beast, a leopard. Now, anybody care to remember what the leopard kingdom was back in Daniel teaching? No brave ones in here? That was for Greece or Grecia. Let me get back to where we were. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. So when we say leopard, we're talking about Grecia. We're talking about the prince of Grecia, the demon that empowered Alexander the Great. You all hopefully remember that. Prince of Grecia, leopard. And he had the feet of a bear. That means he's going to be rising up out of the area of Medo-Persia. That's where he's going to come out of. That's where he came out of originally. And his mouth was as the mouth of a lion. If you remember that, those first beastly visions, the lion was Babylon. That means his message is going to come from Babylon. And the dragon. Now we know who that is, don't we? Satan, the devil, Lucifer, whatever name you want to pin on him. The dragon gave him, this leopard beast, his power and his seat and great authority. That means behind all this, underneath and behind all of this, devil, Satan's behind it. Guess what word's being translated as authority? Exousias. And you should remember that when we were teaching into Ephesians 6. You remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against archos and exousias and cosmokratoros, rulers, authorities, said here. And in this sense, we're talking about demonic hierarchy, exousias, given to him by Satan. Third verse. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Now this is where a lot of people go astray. And they like to think that some world leader was assassinated, like Kennedy, and that he's going to come back to life. No, we're talking about kingdoms here. And the kingdom that we talked about, that we're leaning on and focusing in on here, is the leopard kingdom, the Grecian kingdom. And for all intents and purposes, after Alexander the Great was, what's the word? When you take a demon out of somebody, when he was exorcised, or under God's guidance and power and his plan, the demon that was empowering Alexander the Great was removed. That great Grecian empire was, for all intents and purposes, dead. I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, because the ancient Grecian empire is going to emerge again into power, or some form of it, and people who know their history somewhat are going to look in great amazement and wonder at what's coming forth here. The Grecian Empire was dead, comes back. And they worshipped the dragon and gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who's like unto the beast? Who's able to make war with him? And there was given unto him, this beast, a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. There's a lot of different ways that they say this. They're saying, anybody done the math yet? 3.5 years, okay? Just like the 1290 and the time and times and time and a half time, all that, different ways of saying the same thing. 42 months, 3.5 years. Now to go over them now, because we're going to land on them a little more solidly later on, the kingdoms that have oppressed God's people and God's chosen ones throughout history are, number 1, Egypt. Number 2, Assyria. Number 3, Babylon. Number 4, Medo-Persia. Number 5, Grecia. Number 6, Rome. And number 7, we're going to call the ten-toed kingdom, which appeared in one of Daniel's first visions, or visions that he interpreted. It's going to be a reconstituted Holy Roman Empire, some conglomeration, probably of the European Union, some makeup of those nation kingdoms. Now, 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. He's down here flipping God off, so to speak, in all the heavenlies. 7th verse, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. We're not talking about the raptured saints. They're already gone when this is happening. We are already gone. We're talking about the martyrs and the Jews. To make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Remember, God's in control and he's in charge, and he has a plan for the ages that he set into motion way back in the beginning to prove that he is in charge, he is in control, and it's coming to pass just as he said. Power given to him over kindreds and tongues and all nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. And then this next line here, I'm saying parenthetically, so put it in parentheses and highlight it, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay? All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life. Of course, they're gone. They've been raptured out of there. Except those that will be redeemed by martyrdom and beheadings in the end times. 9th verse. If any man have an ear, let him hear. What's that saying? Listen up. Pay attention. Or in the cowboy slang, point those ears, just like a horse does. They point their ears, okay? Dogs too. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And underline this last sentence here. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. That's what's going to be happening to those who deserve it and who the saints have been patiently waiting for it to happen to. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. Put all that other stuff on hold. It's going to come into play. How are they usually describing Or what are they usually describing as a lamb? Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. As I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. Didn't say he was a lamb, it says like a lamb. And he spake as a dragon. That means this beast coming up is going to look like Jesus, for all intents and purposes, just like him. But his message is going to come from the devil. What's that message? Primarily, the message is humanism. That means fairness, equality, what's right in man's eyes, humanism. This is the false prophet. There's going to be a leader of an end-day worldwide church. They're calling the false prophet in Revelation. And he, for the false prophet, he exerciseth all the power of the first beast, the Antichrist we're talking about, before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. It's the false prophet that does it. Whose deadly wound was healed. The beast whose deadly wound was healed. Again, they keep sneaking that in, so you know we're talking about the ancient Grecian kingdom, the prince of Grecia, the demon that possessed Alexander the Great, now comes back and possesses Antichrist. Whose deadly wound was healed, Greece. And he, again, the false prophet. It's not the so-called beast or the Antichrist that does this. It's the false prophet that does this. He doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceiveth them, underline that, deceiveth them, that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had the power to do in the sight of the beast, hooked up together, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Grecia in the form of Antichrist, right? Make an image to him, so they have something to worship. And he, again, the false prophet, had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and guess what else? And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed by beheadings and other methods. Still, false prophet, and he, the false prophet, causeth all, circle that, all, not most, not the worst, not some, all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. We have for some time been seeing echoes of those kinds of things, and more so in recent times. Seemingly very innocent. I don't know what they're called, but you've seen that thing that they wear at Disneyland now, where it does everything. It tells you what, you make reservations on it, you go on the rides, it spends everything, it does your, takes care of your, it does everything, opens your hotel room, and it's right there on your wrist. So you take that mark of the beast, that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. 18th verse. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding, and those of you that are well taught should beginning to have understanding more and more. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and his number is 600, threescore, which is 60, and 6. So that is 6, 6, 6. Now we're going to have just keep your finger in Revelation we're going to have just a real brief interlude here because of some of the things that we're going to be pointing out and showing here. Before we go into Revelation 17, I want to tell you something. I want to make a statement here. I am not anti-Catholic. Okay, is that understood? Some of my congregation are former Catholics or have been brought up in Catholic traditions. Hundreds of millions of decent, God-fearing people are Catholics. It's the institution itself that makes the Catholic Church a prime candidate for the end days harlot woman church. Now, some requirements of this end day church, out of which the false prophet is going to come, is that it must be big, it must be rich, it must be powerful. Now, it's definitely big. It's the biggest. There are 1 billion Catholics in the world. That's 1/4 of the world population. It's the wealthiest, talk about rich, it's the wealthiest organization on earth. Some of the facts. Power. Most nations in the world have diplomatic relations with the Vatican. Almost every king and world leader has either political, religious, or economic ties to the Vatican. And amongst other things we'll touch on tonight and point out, Catholicism, much of it came from, or Catholicism, much of it came from the mystery religions and traditions of Babylon, Babylon mystery religions, all the way from Nimrod and Semiramis, but names have been changed to make it look Christian. Now, Constantine, the first pope, it is said, was never saved. The Roman Catholic institution tortured, maimed, or killed 68 million people in the Spanish Inquisition alone. The Vatican colors are purple and scarlet. I just want to tell you that because something's going to leap out at you tonight. Now, I'm not saying that the Catholic Church is that end-day church. It's the likeliest candidate as an existing church. There may be an end-time, huge, conglomerate world church that fills the bill. I'm saying that on purpose because as it stands now, the Catholic Church and the Vatican fits the bill. But I'm saying it may be something else that fills the bill. And I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of Catholic Muslim hybrid thing occurs in the end times. I mean, all that beheading. Now let's read on and teach on. Let's go to Revelation 17. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. You'll learn more about that in a bit here. Many waters symbolizes and represents peoples and nations. This who God, through John the Revelator, is describing as a great whore is that end-day church. Sitteth upon many waters, many peoples, nations. I already told you, 1,000,000,000 in that one we talked about. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Remember? All kings and world leaders have had some kind of relationship, religious, economic, with the Vatican. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he, the angel that was talking to John, carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now this world end church, and some of the bigger and biggest churches existing now, don't have their own army. But they can have influence over nations who have armies to do their bidding. So that's why this is being described as this personage having 7 heads and riding on a beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman, remember what that is, this world end church, was arrayed in purple and scarlet. That's the official colors of the Vatican. Purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. 5th verse, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. Remember the mystery religions, traditions of Babylon? The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs. Remember 68 million people? And Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. It's just astounding to John looking on. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I'll tell thee the mystery of the woman, and the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Okay, now get ready to reel things off and do some math here. The beast that thou sawest was. Remember the prince of Grecia? The beast that thou sawest was. We're talking about in John's day. And is not in John's day. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. It should start making sense with the teaching, especially from Daniel. Remember the leopard kingdom? Was gone. Is not in John's day. Shall ascend out of the bottomless pit in the end time, our future, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. This ancient Grecian kingdom empire coming back again shall wonder, parentheses, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. When they behold the beast that was, and is not in John's day, and yet is, it's going to come back. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. Those of you here and out there that are well taught or being well taught have a mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. There's a double meaning to this 7. Rome is situated on the 7 hills of Rome, on which the woman sitteth. Remember who the woman is. That end-day church, whatever it winds up being. And there are 7 kings. Now we're going to roll. 7 kings. 5 are fallen. Let's look at them. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Grecia. Okay? 5 are fallen. Talk about John the Revelator's day. 1 is Rome, and that's who was in charge in John's day. Rome. 1 is. And the other, that 7th one, is not yet come. Future. John's future. Maybe our future may already be here now. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That's that 10-toed kingdom, that conglomeration of the European Union or whatever it is going to be the kingdom then. Must continue a short space. Is only going to be there for a little while. And the beast that was and is not in John's day, even he is the 8th. The kingdom that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So he's going to come back after this 10-toed kingdom. We're talking about the Antichrist, that Greek leopard kingdom. Do that again. 1 through 5. 5, there's 7 kings. 5 are fallen. Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Grecia. 1 is, in John's day, Rome, who was in charge of them. 1 is not yet come, the 10-toed kingdom in our very near future. For a short space. And the beast that was and is not, we already know that's the leopard Grecian kingdom. He's the 8th. That means he's going to come back after this 10-toed kingdom and be the 8th kingdom. Not sure of that? It says even he is the 8th and is of the 7. So that should make it clear. The Grecian kingdom was one of the 7 and is coming back to be number 8. And goeth into perdition. Is going to get possessed. The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour, a very short time, with, circle that, with the beast. So they're going to be a short time, and they're going to coexist with the Antichrist and these 10. It says, these, the ones they're talking about right now, have one mind and shall give, and I can't say that loud enough, they're going to give their power and strength unto the beast, the Antichrist. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And listen to this. And they that are, it says that are, should be shall be. And they that shall be with him, circle that, highlight it. It says in the book of Jude, quoting Enoch, that the Lord's going to come back with 10,000s of his saints. They that shall be with him are called and chosen and faithful. Faithful is translating a word pistoi, which comes from, guess what? Pistis. Faith. Action based on belief, sustained by confidence. Those that do that, which is what God's looking for. The epitome of trust. Called is translating a word kletos, Greek word. Kletos means called, appointed, invited. Those that are with him are called, and certainly those faithful ones are called, and chosen. That's translating the Greek word eklektos. And that means chosen, picked out, taken in preference, selected from, or predestined. Those that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. And he saith unto me, the angel is talking to John, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, that end-day church, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. They're going to turn in on themselves, self-consuming. Why? 17th verse. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast. And underline this last part. Until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And they shall be. And that's my message for tonight. It's offering time. For the offertory song we have Lighthouse. Yes. Listen to the words in this song. Then we'll have a few closing words. Get ready for next week's teaching.
There's a lighthouse on a hillside that overlooks life's seas, and when I'm tossed, it sends out a light that I might see, and the light that shines in darkness now will safely lead me home. If it wasn't for that lighthouse, this ship would sail no more. And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to him. Jesus is the lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin he has shown a light around me that I might clearly see. If it wasn't for
thank you guys. I think I often say I don't have much else to add, and I really don't, but I do need to point out always, because this teaching is always so unsettling and sometimes so scary that it unsettles. But always remember, if you act in faith, trust in God, you're not going to be down here to see this. You're going to be watching it from up there, because you're going to be taken out of the way before it gets too bad. Thanks be to God. But things are winding down. There is a union in Europe. There are nations that are gathering together that may make that seventh kingdom up. There are and is a church that's big and powerful and rich out there, and some authorities thinking we may be witnessing the last pope, the 112th pope. You do the math on that. But we're going to keep teaching. We're not going to stop teaching faith. That's what we're all about here, faith and trust in God. But we're obligated to point out, because the time is short, what's going on and what's at stake. And if you want to make it through, because the sides are drawing up, you better get on the right side. You don't have much time. Stay in faith. We're going to have our closing theme song, Keep on Walking in Faith, and we'll see you next week. It's going to be a sort of a grab bag. We'll see how God leads as far as the teaching goes. I'm not sure yet what we're going to land on or what God's going to land us on, but you'll see. Tune in.
Well, I searched and I searched for a road that led to glory. I wondered if I'd ever find my way. I was so dismayed, for the road it seemed so lonely. But then I heard a voice within me say, you've got to keep on walking, keep right on walking, walking in the light of the Lord. You'll get to heaven someday. You only get in the faith way, walking in the light of the Lord. Well, I faith and I faith, and the Lord He gave me mercy. I faith and He brightened up my way. I sat down to rest, for my feet had grown so weary. But then I